Hi, good evening, everyone. And first, I want to say it's an honor to be speaking up here in front of everybody. I want to give a big thank you to Professor John English and my supportive 9 o'clock class for this. To start my presentation tonight, I'm going to tell you a story. And it's going to be a story of something that we would probably never imagine to happen in America. Take this scenario. You're driving home from work after a long day, and you're on the interstate with the rest of rush hour traffic. The interstate takes you over a bridge, over water to get home. But that's no big deal. You take this route twice a day, every day. The safety of the bridge doesn't even cross your mind. But today, something unusual happens. As you get a quarter of the way across the bridge, the car in front of you suddenly slams on the brakes. You break out of your daze and you look up, but you can't believe what you see. The middle portion of the bridge has suddenly just collapsed into the water below, taking with it 30-40 cars. But the crumbling doesn't stop there. The edges of the gap break off also, making the gap wider, and the crumbling edge moves towards you. You see frantic motorists up ahead try to get out of the way, but there's nowhere they can go. You hear screams. You hear the cars in front of you drop down one by one into the water below you. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nowhere you can go. You feel the crumbling edge come towards you. You see the ground around you crack. You feel a car lurch downwards. The bridge around you has just collapsed. Now, could this happen in America? We would all certainly hope not. But this is exactly what happened on August 1st, 2007, in a bridge in Minneapolis, Minnesota. According to the official accident report by the National Transportation Safety Board, at 6:05 p.m., one of the main structural supports of the I-35W Mississippi River Bridge in Minneapolis, Minnesota, suffered a catastrophic failure that caused 1,000 feet of the bridge deck to fall up to 45 stories into the water below. 111 vehicles were involved. 11 people were killed. 145 were injured. The total impact of this collapse on the Minnesota economy was $60 million. Now, this was a catastrophic failure that showed us what can happen when we fail to properly maintain our bridges. But while this was a localized incident, it brought to America's attention an emerging issue we were having as a country. Our infrastructure, specifically our bridge infrastructure, is aging. To prevent another collapse like the Minnesota collapse, the United States federal government needs to spend a significant more amount of money for bridge repair and rehabilitation of our country's deficient bridges. To do this, I propose we increase our federal gasoline tax by 5 cents per gallon. Now, as with any increase in tax, it's going to be a tough sell. But I'll give you the arguments. First, I'll explain where our bridge situation is right now. Next, I'll explain what my tax can accomplish. And finally, I'll address one main argument that opponents against my legislation have. First, where our bridge conditions are right now. After the bridge collapse in Minnesota, the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials did a study into our nation's bridges, into the health of our nation's bridges. In this article that they titled Bridging the Gap, which they published in July 2008, they said that the average age a bridge is built to last for is 50 years. But the average age of bridges in America is 43 years. Just 7 shy what most of them are built to last for. This can be attributed to a great building boom that happened between 1950 and 1970, right after World War II. And during this period of time, more bridges were built than had ever been built before or have ever been built since then. But now in 2010, 40 to 60 years later, the ages of these bridges are causing problems. According to this report, Bridging the Gap, 1 in 8 bridges in America today are structurally deficient. This means 1 in 8 bridges today either have a significant load-bearing element that is in poor condition due to deterioration, or that their load capacity, that means the amount of weight they can safely support, is insufficient to the point of causing intolerable traffic interruptions. Now, many states keep these bridges open because closing them will cause too many problems to traffic, and replacing them will be too expensive. They keep these open by imposing weight limits on the vehicles that can cross over, as well as by closing lanes to limit the amount of traffic that's on the bridge at any one time. But it goes without saying that these bridges are the most vulnerable to failure. Now think about it. These are your bridges. These are the bridges you're traveling on a daily basis. Why does this impact you? Well, according to statistics released by the United States Department of Transportation, 73% of all American traffic crosses over state-owned bridges. That means if you commute by car, there's a 73% chance you will cross over a state-owned bridge. And 1 in 8 bridges that you cross over will be structurally deficient. Now, this problem doesn't only apply to you. It applies to anybody who commutes by car, all your families, your friends, your co-workers. Anybody who commutes by car has the same risk. Now, the reason for this is that the United States federal government is currently not providing enough money for the repair and rehabilitation of these deficient bridges. The annual cost in maintaining our nation's bridges at their current level without improving them is $8.7 billion. But right now, the federal government only pays for about half of that cost. The states are left to make up for the rest of that maintenance cost, as well as any costs necessary to improve or rehabilitate deficient bridges. But according to this report, Bridging the Gap, published in 2008, states simply do not have the funds right now to do that. Nearly every state is facing a budget shortfall in the area of construction. They are struggling just to maintain their bridges. They simply do not have enough money. Without federal help, they don't have enough money to replace or rehabilitate the deficient bridges. Unless we increase federal funding for bridge construction, these deficient bridges, are just going to stay deficient. Now, there's a solution for this. And what I propose was originally proposed by Congressman Jim Horsey of Minnesota. It is that we increase the federal gasoline tax by 5 cents per gallon. This will raise about $50 billion over the next 6 years. That will be enough money to bring all of our currently deficient bridges, all of them, back to a level of non-deficiency. Now, this money will be collected by the Federal Highway Administration and distributed to the states the same way it is distributed now. We won't have to set up a new government organization. We already have the system in place. We'll just be collecting more money. Now, if an increase of 5 cents per gallon seems like a lot, consider this. Our current gasoline tax right now is 18.3 cents per gallon. This has been at the same level since 1993. But 18.3 cents in 1993 is equal to 27.5 cents today. So we're actually paying today about 30% less in federal gasoline tax than we did in 1993. And even with this new increase in federal gasoline tax, we will still be paying about 15% less. According to the statistics released by the United States Department of Transportation, this new tax will only cost the average driver an additional $30 per year. It's not very much. And after 6 years, if this goes according to plan, we should have enough funds to bring all of our currently deficient bridges back to a level of non-deficiency. Now, the opponents against this plan often cite the fact the United States government right now is riddled with too much pork barrel spending and earmarks. They say that until we can eliminate this problem of pork barrel spending and earmarks, it would be irresponsible to ask the American people to pay more money in taxes. And yes, while this may be true and while our government may have problems, the reality is pork barrel spending has been a part of our government since its inception. It's a characteristic part of a democratic process that all congressmen need to bring back something good for their constituents to get reelected. So while we might try to eliminate this problem of frivolous spending, it's unlikely to go away anytime soon. But as for the problem of fixing deficient bridges, we must act soon. Remember, the average age of our bridges in the United States is 43 years, just 7 shy of what they're built to last for. We don't have time to sit around and wait for reform. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon. We have to use the imperfect government system we have to come up with the best solution we have to solve this problem. So this is what I propose. We increase the federal gasoline tax by 5 cents per gallon. We raise $50 billion over the next 6 years to bring all of our currently deficient bridges back to a level of non-deficiency. And if we do this, once we are successful, all of you will have the confidence to know that the bridges you are traveling on are safe and not deficient. You have the comfort to know that what happened in Minnesota will not happen to you, and that hypothetical situation I gave earlier in this presentation will remain in the realm of hypothetics. It's a tough issue, but if we work together, we can solve it. Thank you.